Coming up on this edition of Newton Newsmakers, national and state elections are this year. But as we all know, politics is local. So what role will Newton Democratic activists play in the upcoming election season? Our guests, Democrats Martina Jackson, Tim Snyder, Shawn Fitzgibbons, and Hannah Banks, all of whom are vying for the privilege of leading the Newton Democratic City Committee for the next 2 years, including during this election season. So what does it all mean and why is it important? Find out next on Newton Newsmakers. There we go.
Newton Newsmakers is made possible through the volunteer production efforts of the employees of mass media and big city publishing, and through the support of Newton residents like you.
Hi everybody, welcome to Newton Newsmakers. I'm Charlie Shapiro. As you probably already are very well aware, it is a big election year with federal and state offices going to be on the ballot. The president, the office of U.S. Senator, of course, with Brown and most likely Warren, along with a successor to Congressman Barney Frank, and other offices as well. So there is also, however, a contested race at what you can most likely consider the most grassroots of grassroots level, and that is for the ultimate leadership for this year, for the next 2 years, of the Newton Democratic City Committee. And I'm very happy to have as our guests 4 people who are all members of the Newton Democratic City Committee. First, let me introduce you to Martina Jackson and to Tim Snyder. Martina and Tim are the current co-chairs of the Newton Democratic City Committee. Thank you both for taking the time to come into Newton Newsmakers.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right. Also, we are joined by Shawn Fitzgibbons and Hannah Banks. Shawn and Hannah. Shawn, first of all, is the vice chair of the City Committee, Newton Democratic City Committee right now. Hannah is a member of the Democratic City Committee, and they are interested in becoming the leadership of the committee. So we're going to talk with these folks, find out a little bit about what the city committee actually does and why, from a Democratic activist standpoint, this is such an important thing to be involved with. So first of all, again, thanks everybody for coming in. Martina, why don't we start with you? You've been involved with this for quite some time at this point. You've led the Democratic City Committee in a number of different ways, successfully through a number of different elections, obviously. Tell folks, first of all, what is, just for anybody who has perhaps not been paying attention, which in Newton is really impossible because everybody pays attention, but what is the Democratic City Committee and why does it matter?
The Newton Democratic City Committee has as its basic mission to support and elect Democrats to office. And because, as you know, and as you've pointed out, Newton is an exceptionally activist community, it's the responsibility of the City Committee to coordinate this time through 3 campaigns, as I call it, the Triple Crown. Often it's the state representative, state senator, who is opposed by somebody, a Republican or some other party. That is our responsibility. It is to get behind these candidates, to organize, to be sure that they have the signatures that they need, that the polls are covered, that we've gone into the precincts, that we've made our calls, that we've reached out to every Democrat and a whole lot of independents to be sure that they are primed to vote on A, primary day, and B, the general election.
Okay, and how many years have you been either in a chair or co-chair or leadership position at this point?
Well, I started in leadership as chair of Ward 2, where I live, and I was chair there for about 8 years, and then I became chair of the City Committee 12 years ago, and for 4 years, Tim and I have been co-chairs.
Okay, so Tim Snyder, welcome, and thanks for being here as well.
It's a pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about the co-chair structure. because some years there have been co-chairs for the last 4, I believe you just said. Prior to that, there was a chair and a vice chair, and those folks are always of different genders according to the bylaws, if I'm not mistaken.
Recently.
Recently.
It hasn't been that way all the time, but
Okay.
recently.
All right, we can get back to that in a second if there was a specific reason, but it sounds logical. Tell us a little bit about how you see Newton. How many Democrats, how many unenrolled or independents, how many Republicans? I know there's a few here and there. But how is Newton broken out as far as that? And what kind of an involvement, for example, how many members are there in the Democratic City Committee, and how does that shape up?
Well, to get back to your first question, Martina and I ran as co-chairs in 2008 as a unity slate to unify the Democratic Party here in Newton after a very contentious primary battle between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. And I think we were successful in reunifying the party and having a very successful campaign in 2008. Obviously, Obama won by a landslide here in Newton, but the key for us is getting people involved in working on the campaign here in Newton as well as in New Hampshire and other places in the country. Newton does supply a lot of energy as well as funding for various candidates, and that's part of our role is to encourage and focus that volunteer activity. So we've been a unity slate to unify the Democratic Party here in Newton, and we've been successful at that. And the city committee actually consists of the ward committees of each of the 8 wards in Newton. The ward committees are on the ballot this year, as they are every presidential primary, to elect the members of the ward committees in each ward for a 4-year term. So the city committee consists of all of those ward committees together.
Okay. Is it fair to say that now I'm in Ward 6, I'm also a member of the Democratic City Committee by the nature of being a member of Ward 6 and being on the Ward 6 committee, so
Right.
just in full disclosure and all of that. Is it fair to say, and I guess around this table it probably would be very fair to say, that folks that are involved with the Democratic City Committee and the wards, or the wards for that matter, are probably the most loyal and dedicated to Democratic ideals, the ideas of the Democratic Party. Is that a fair statement?
I think ideologically as well as behaviorally committed to the Democratic Party. That they not only talk the talk, but they walk the walk.
All right.
They get out and do the work and help the candidates win the elections, and I think that's very important. The ward committees themselves are democratically elected by the Democrats in each ward, so they're activists, but they're also in a way representatives.
Okay. Well, let's turn to Shawn and Hannah. If you could give folks a sense of why you thought it was an appropriate or the right time, or a good time for that matter, to go from the vice chair of the Democratic City Committee to attempt to move into the top slot.
Sure, that's a great question. Thanks again, Charlie, and to Tim and Martina and Hannah for having a conversation about this. This is an unprecedented election year, so there's probably not a time in Massachusetts history, at least in memory, where we've had to elect our congressman in Newton, our senator, and oust an incumbent senator at the same time as we're re-electing the president. And it's an exceptional year, and I think that we're all on the same team here. We're all making important contributions to the Democratic Party. I think that the NDCC is doing great work, but I think in this year we need to go above and beyond to make sure that we win these races. If Scott Brown is victorious, we're going to have 6 years of a really conservative right-wing senator in Massachusetts, and that would be devastating. Similarly, in this new district, the new 4th district, it's a tougher district for a Democrat to run in. We got to make sure that we hold that, and obviously if the Republicans win the presidency, I think we're probably all doomed. And I think that there are more things that we can do to make the Democratic city stronger in this year, and I think it's critical to do it in this year because we have to make sure to win these unprecedented contests that we're dealing with. And first among them is simply we got to get everybody, possibly everyone who is interested in our city involved in the campaigns and the grassroots activism that Tim referred to. A lot of our membership seats are open right now in the Democratic City Committee, and to me, there's a real opportunity to bring in more people on the team that's responsible, that has the core responsibility for the grassroots activism, and that's something that both Hannah and I are strongly committed to, is to basically make sure we're in our best position possible to win these elections this year. I've been working really closely with Tim and Martina. We're obviously, we're in a contest here, but we've been a great team, I think. I've been very intimately involved with the city committee in its programs, from the back-end boring stuff like the bylaws and electronic communications to doing programs and campaign work and so on. I feel we'll continue the work and build upon it in this critical year.
Okay, and Hannah, you're relatively new to Newton?
I'm relatively new to Newton.
So why don't we dive in? Where are you from, and what brought you here?
Originally from Chicago, but I've been in the Boston area since 1986, so
Okay.
that's quite a while. But I bring my Hyde Park liberalism to Newton. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Hyde Park liberal and proud of it, and I have been supporting democratic values and progressive values since 1968. And I've been felt very welcomed here in Newton, and it's really a wonderful community. Martina's been very, very good to me, and Tim has been very good as well. And I really enjoy working with the Newton Democratic City Committee and want to offer my grassroots experience in getting people out to vote.
So how do you balance, I think this is a reasonable question, how do you balance that energy but also being relatively new, or very new, frankly, to the community? How do you balance that between what I think would be safe to say a wealth of experience in the community itself? Is there a way to line that up somehow or another so it makes sense?
Well, it's just through making contacts with people, speaking to them whether I know them or not, trying to get people involved and find out what it is that they want to do and plug them into a campaign in whatever capacity they want to do it. And I think that that's also a way to grow the Newton Democratic City Committee. Once you get people involved in a campaign, then they're more likely to continue to work with us.
Okay, so let me go back to Martina and Tim. So you talked about it being a unity situation that brought you to the point of being co-chairs. Which one was for Obama originally, and which one was for?
I was for Hillary Clinton.
You were for Hillary originally.
Yes.
You were for Obama.
Right.
And so that's where the concept of the co-chairs came in. Was that the first time that had been done?
Yes.
It was.
Yes, and the state committee has more and more encouraged gender-balanced co-chairs. I'm a member of the Democratic State Committee, and I'm also on the Bylaws, Rules, and Charter Committee of the State Committee. And we've been trying to do a lot of gender balance, and this seemed a perfect opportunity. And it has worked very well, and it also attracted a lot of other people to the city committee and to the work of the city committee. The big issue really is that it's easy in a campaign, particularly one like this, to get people to come and work on a campaign. People are very enthusiastic, but to retain people is more of a challenge because it's the time issue. There was a time, I've lived in Newton for 37 years, there was a time when people had time. And it's much harder now. So the thing that we really try to do is to maximize campaigns, to get people involved, to know that there is a structure. I've been doing Get Out the Vote for 3 weeks. We've been doing signature drives. Last weekend, I had over 30 people at my house doing that kind of thing. This is the moment to maximize interest in the Democratic Party.
So Tim, from what you're seeing, and from, I'm assuming you're going to, actually probably everybody here is going to the same events, or at least a good chunk of the same events. What is really getting people fired up in Newton, which is a community that historically, post-Ted Mann era, obviously, but post that, so in recent memory anyway, roughly speaking, and you may have different numbers, but let me see if we can get this right here. Take a look at the screen and see if we nailed this at least relatively
That's right.
close.
Those are the numbers.
So approximately 25,000 registered Democrats, approximately 25,000 unenrolled, give or take, about 4,500 Republicans that that must be very lonely sometimes, and a handful of libertarians.
As of February 15th, which was the closing day for enrollment, there were 25, as you noticed, 25,000 Democrats, 4,300 Republicans, and 24,000, almost 25,000 unenrolled.
Okay, so when you put the Republicans and the unenrolled together, they actually are greater in number than the Democrats.
That's true.
But obviously unenrolled in Newton, I mean, you don't know exactly how they split, but it would be a fair approximate guess to assume that the majority of the unenrolled don't want to be known or identify themselves as activist Democrats with the party, but perhaps they generally lean towards the Democratic candidates. Is that safe to say, or?
I don't know about that, Charlie. I think overall independents, it's not an easy guess where they'll go. And honestly, I might actually say the more likely to go to the conservative candidate. I think in Newton, it's not. I wouldn't.
Why would you say that?
I just, in my experience, with elections, usually at the last minutes, the independents are the ones holding out and trying to decide, who they're going to vote for. They're kind of the focus of the media attention the days before the election, and I think that there have been polls and research that shows that I'm not saying a majority, like 90%, but I don't think it's a lock that you're saying.
Martina, you don't agree with that?
No, I mean, for Scott Brown, we had a base of registered Republicans, about 4,500, and Scott Brown got 11,000 votes in Newton, so I don't think that's true. But to answer why people don't, a lot of people don't put down a party designation, especially in places like Newton, because they work for government, because they work in places where it is a sensitive matter to indicate your party preference. So that's one reason that people don't affiliate. But in terms of the split, we find that we have many, many more independents who actually support the Democratic Party than the Republican Party.
Well, that's what I was bringing up originally.
Yes, I think you're right.
That it breaks in that direction. Hannah, since you're coming into the city,
yes,
from your Hyde Park experience and from the other places
yes,
that you've been, are you seeing Newton handle things differently than anything you've seen in other areas?
I think in any community, it's a question of asking people and asking people what it is that they want to do, because you can't put a square peg in a round hole. And you want to have people feel that they have a sense of accomplishment at the end of the day and that they're doing something that they really love to do. So, it's just trying to get people involved to do whatever it is that they want to do. And there are all sorts of ways that they can be involved in campaigns. There's phone banking, there's canvassing, there's doing data, there's driving people, there's all sorts of things. And it really, it's a wonderful community in the end as an election draws near, where everybody is really charged up and really ready to go and willing to do whatever it takes to get our candidates elected.
So let me go around the room and ask around the table and just ask a couple of tough questions that if I don't ask, people will go, well, why didn't you ask him this? So let's start with Martina and Tim. You've been doing this for a while. Where are you on your level of energy to continue doing this at this time?
I am tremendously energized by this. I just wanted to say one thing. The Elizabeth Warren and Joe Kennedy campaigns are not actually part of the city committee per se. Mm-hmm. I'm at the moment coordinating both, but not as chair. And in every ward, there's a separate person, not necessarily a city committee member, who's doing the coordinating at the moment for one of those candidates. But I'm hugely excited.
And that's a volunteer position?
Totally.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So I've been spending a lot of time doing that. I see it as a link because, of course, people who come and volunteer on these campaigns do eventually wind up connected somewhat to the city committee. But I have a lot of energy for that. I have to say that whatever it is that politics does, it does very much energize me, and especially this year because of the Triple Crown.
Okay. So. Tim?
Well, I think it's a combination of concern for energy as well as for maintaining the unity of our effort going forward. I think we were very successful in 2008 reunifying the party for the general election. It was split 15,010 for Obama and 15,025 for Clinton here in Newton. So it was just a big challenge to reunify the party then, and we've continued to work to unify the party and move ahead, and we're energized to work for the president and whoever wins the nominations for Senate and Congress, and I think we're excited by the energy level that we see out there and among the voters and the Democrats here in Newton.
Okay. And for Shawn and Hannah, you've decided to run essentially together.
Yes.
So my first question is why? And let's start with Hannah on that.
Well, first of all, I was very honored when Shawn asked me to run as his vice chair.
Running mate, that's what I was
Running mate, that's right.
That's the word I was looking for.
Well, we're not quite running mates because they're two separate elections. The vice
Okay.
chair election is separate from the chair election. But we are running together. And we both bring energy and drive and maybe a new way of doing things. And we want to expand the Newton Democratic City Committee and open it up to more people and make people enjoy it. And so that's what we're bringing, enthusiasm and drive.
Okay, and Shawn, is there anything that you feel that you would specifically do differently that would be a reason for someone to make a change in an important election year?
Yeah, the number one thing that I've talked a lot about, and Hannah just mentioned, is for the leadership of our committee to have an overt focus about getting people involved with what we do. As I mentioned, we're all on the same team, and Tim and Martina have made incredibly good contributions. I think that for a long time, so there's about each ward's allowed 35 elected members, and we can have a total of about 360 members. Right now, we've got about 280. So it's like a good 30 to 40% of our membership seats are empty right now. And going into this election year, we need to have a full team because these are the people we make precinct captains. These are the ones that do data entry, all of that. And I think that what I would hope to focus on a lot of energy on would be filling the rest of those up. I've done that in our old Ward 6. We have full membership. I think we can do that with the rest of the committee, and that's going to make us stronger. That's going to give more people to these campaigns, whoever the nominees are of the Democratic Party. And so that's really something that both Hannah and I are really going to focus on in a really strong way. And I think that I would encourage people to consider the importance of that in this year where we need so many volunteers on all three of these critical campaigns.
Now, who actually votes on this contest that we are discussing right now?
The membership. I would like to just correct something. We, in fact, have just about filled every slot because names will appear on the presidential primary ballot, and we've recruited a whole lot of people, and we've just about filled every slot. And it is a misrepresentation somewhat to say because 20-year members don't appear as listed members. So obviously every 4 years you'll have a certain number who become 20-year members, and that's the idea, to get new people on. That is the whole process that we look for, and that's what we're doing this year, and we've had a lot of enthusiasm for that, and Tim's been very good about that as well.
Well, Shawn just gave his pitch on why he feels there could or should be a change. Tim, do you want to take a stab at why why things are just fine the way they are?
Well, we've been doing exactly what Shawn has described, getting new people involved. We've got new chairs of the various ward committees, and every campaign, I think, brings new energy and new people into the process. And I think we did that in 2004. We did it in 2008. We did it from the 2010 coordinated campaign, and we get new energy from every one of those campaigns, and we'll continue to do that. I think it's been a successful strategy.
All right. All right, so who here is voting for President Obama for re-election? Softball, you got to throw one up now every now and then.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
And it just really is such an important election. I just wanted to make sure everybody has a chance to see what happens and to get a sense of this. The actual Newton Democratic City Committee election for its leadership. First of all, you have to be a member of the committee, which means you have to be on one of the ward committees to actually be a part of the Democratic City Committee. That election is on
April the 12th at Newton South High School.
April the 12th. What day is that?
That is a Thursday.
Okay, so Thursday, April 12th. If you are a Democrat, if you are in the city of Newton, that's when the election will be. And you can, do either of you have websites or phone numbers where somebody could contact you if they'd like to touch base with you personally?
Oh, personally, well, actually, they can do that through the Newton Dems
Website.
Okay, so newtondems.org?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And we have information about both of us at ShawnFitzgibbons.com, my name.
Okay. All right, great. So thank you again for being here. Martina Jackson, Tim Snyder, Shawn Fitzgibbons, Hannah Banks, Newton Newsmakers. We'll wrap up right after this.
I don't think I've ever been a news.
Someone you love with Alzheimer's or other dementia has gone missing. It's a danger to the individual and stressful for the entire family.
Yes, I'd like to report a person missing.
Is he enrolled in Silver Alert, ma'am?
Yes.
But now in Newton, there's a new community safety partnership to help bring your loved one home faster and safer. Introducing the Newton Silver Alert. Similar to the Amber Alert, the Silver Alert is a public notification system. From reverse 911 calls to scrolling information on community cable channels. And with advanced registration, important information can be sent instantly to specially trained officers in the field. If you know someone who may be at risk, the Silver Alert program can help our first responders locate your loved one quicker and bring them home safely. Introducing the Newton Silver Alert.
I'm Officer Rosenbaum of the Newton Police Department. We're proud to be a leader in the state's new Silver Alert program. Please register your loved ones, call, email, or stop by the station, or look for us at events around the city. Thank you.
If you missed any part of the program, I invite you to visit newtonnewsmakers.org. You can view the entire show on demand 24/7. You can also sign up for our monthly email update. It's free. Just shoot us an email. And if you have an idea for a topic you'd like to see covered on the program, let me know. Before we run, I just want to thank the Alliance for Community Media for awarding Newton Newsmakers first place honors in the Northeast. That's all of New York and all of New England. And the people that make it happen are director Bob Palmer, Mark Martirosian, Barbara John, Paul Sears, Debbie and Rebecca Shapiro, Richard Berman, and the entire staff here at New TV. When I went out to Springfield to accept the award on everybody's behalf, I talked about the need for community television to fill the local void of information that's ignored by most commercial television stations. It is something I believe matters, so thank you for watching and thank you for making this program possible. That's it for this edition of Newton Newsmakers. I'm Charlie Shapiro. We'll see you next time for another Newton Newsmakers.
Newton Newsmakers is made possible through the volunteer production efforts of the employees of mass media and big city publishing, and through the support of Newton residents like you.